What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan Turford, and today I have another awesome Let's Play for you. We are playing Shining Force 2. It's on the Sega Genesis. Now, in case this game looks familiar, I actually played it on my extra live stream for about 6 hours or so, but I didn't really do any talking. It was the last game I played, basically at the end of the stream, so I was very sleepy. And I mean, it's one of those games I've wanted to share with a lot of my friends and colleagues and other people who love video games for a long time now, so this is the best opportunity to do so. We're going to play, just for a little bit, we're going to play sort of the first few battles of the game. It is quite a meaty game, and it does take a little while to play, so for the most part, we're not going to get too far, but I at least wanted to give you guys a taste of it, so that if you guys want more of this, we're going to play more Shining Force 2. Maybe we'll even play the whole game. That's a lot of Let's Plays, but you know what? I'm committed to doing it, if you guys want to see that. So this is just sort of the demo reel that appears before the title on this game, but we can just skip past it because it's mostly story stuff that it's going to explain to us later anyways, so we don't really need to stick around for that. So here, just if you didn't play Shining Force 1, basically the story is sort of told with a different character. In the first game, it's sort of a fairy reading a book, but in this case, it's an old witch in a swamp. Of course, she's just like, man, you can't leave the forest unless you help me. So, do we want to delete Bowie or Bowie? We're going to delete Bowie. Yes, we're sure. So we're just going to start. We're going to do Data 2, and of course, we could name ourselves something. We could just name ourselves or N, or we could just name ourselves Bowie like a normal person. Bowie's the default name, but really you can totally customize your main character's name anyways. So we're just going to play on normal, just because, I mean, this is more just a casual playthrough. In case you're sort of new to my channel, first of all, I want to say thanks for watching. I've been doing a lot of Let's Plays lately, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Eastern Time. They go up on this channel, and they're very casual Let's Plays for the most part. I mean, I'm not out to prove anything. We're not doing speed runs or anything fancy like that. It's mostly just for us, just time for us to chill, basically, and me sort of allowing you to see these games the way I see them. And plus, I mean, I like hanging out with you guys. So, for the most part, I do this for you guys. So, basically, we were told to go see our friends at school. We just sort of woke up. So we live in this town, and we have a sword, and of course we're going to school. One thing that's kind of weird about the control scheme in this game is that, for the most part, if you press the A button on the Genesis controller, it brings up this menu, and you can manually search just random things, like that, just that bead of grass, which doesn't really do anything. Of course, if you walk up to like the well here, for example, I can press the C button, and it'll just automatically think I want to search it. One of those things that you don't really see in modern games because it doesn't make any sense. So, for the most part, you might see me use the menu unnecessarily here. That's just force of habit with this game. Plus, I'm just too used to pressing the A button for everything. So we're going to sort of go to the school here and see our classmates. Of course, we've got Chester the Centaur. Yes, we go to school with a dude that is half human, half horse. And of course, Sarah the priest. Hello, Bowie, how are you? Sir Astral's in the basement. He looks strange today. So in case you guys aren't familiar with the Shining Force games, the Shining Force series really started off as a first-person dungeon crawling game, very similar to something like really early on, like with really early RPGs, where you don't really see your character, you're sort of exploring all the dungeons from a first-person perspective. It's called Shining in the Darkness if you wanted to check it out. And then the original Shining Force moved the series to basically a strategy RPG model. Again, this was sort of my very first foray into strategy RPGs, because I hadn't really played anything like this before, which is pretty awesome. Now, I basically first was allowed to try this game, not from renting it like you traditionally would as a kid who grew up in the early 90s. Instead, we subscribed to a thing called the Sega Channel in my household. The Sega Channel, in case you guys didn't know what that was, it wasn't really available in a lot of different areas. You basically subscribe to the service through your cable provider. They came and hooked up a cable into your Sega Genesis, and it would allow you to stream Sega Genesis games. Very similar to something like Netflix or something like that. It was way ahead of its time, because really, OnLive was really the first service that I saw that was anything similar to what Sega Channel was trying to do. It was way too expensive back in the 90s, which is why it never really took off. But it was a really cool idea, and it gave you a lot of chances of trying a lot of different games that you just wouldn't have gotten a chance to play back then. Especially because one thing people don't realize about the 90s, especially if they didn't really grow up during the cartridge era, is that cartridges were really, really expensive. We're talking like, again, this game, I remember it going for $80 or $90 US for the cartridge, and that was before inflation, so we're talking like 1994 money, which would probably equivalent to maybe $20 or $30 tacked onto that price nowadays. Now, I apologize if my voice is a little bit dead at the moment. I'm currently recording this at 3:48 a.m. I just got off work, so my voice is a little bit dead, but that's okay. Like I said, I was actually at work today. I was so excited because I knew I was going to be able to come home and do this Let's Play. One that I've really wanted to do for a long time, especially because Shining Force 2 is such a meaningful game to me. So I was really looking forward to this. And I mean, come on, I don't want to let you guys down and have a day without content. Let's be real here. Now, one of the other problems with Shining Force 2, besides the fact that it was sort of very hard to find and it was an expensive cartridge, is that it was on the Sega Genesis, a system where we didn't really get too many RPGs. Like, we got the Phantasy Star series and a few other ones, but for the most part, they were mostly SNES games. So, for the most part, a lot of people didn't really experience this, because most of the people I knew anyways who had Sega Genesis, like myself, were more into other like action games or platforming games or racing games, like anything that really wasn't an RPG anyways. Because I mean, we never got any of the Final Fantasy games or Dragon Quest or Lufia or anything made by Square Enix, you know. I mean, their home was with Nintendo, so for the most part we didn't really have that with Sega, which is too bad, because I mean, I kind of wanted to see more RPGs on the Sega Genesis after playing this game anyways. Because at that time, after I played this, I was really craving new RPGs, because one thing about the Sega Channel that a lot of people don't know as well is that games rotated out every 30 days. So you, just like Netflix, you might be in the middle of the series, let's say, but the game totally rotates out. So again, I was totally in love with this game, but it rotated out at the end of the month and I hadn't finished it yet. So I really didn't have... I was really looking for another RPG to play, and unfortunately, Sega Channel really didn't have too many, because, like I said, there weren't too many RPGs on the Sega Genesis. So again, a lot of people I know, even though this is a critically loved game, a lot of people I know haven't even tried it, or when I mentioned to them that I love this game and it's one of my favorites, it's something that they don't even really know anything about, which is kind of crazy. I'm always encouraging people to go try out this game, but it's sort of hard trying to find people who want to go back and play a Sega Genesis game. But I think out of all of the Sega Genesis games, besides maybe like Phantasy Star 4 or something like that, this is one of the ones that really holds up. I mean, the sprite work isn't amazing, and the music does get samey, especially with long hours of play. Again, that's something that I very, very quickly discovered on my live stream of the game. Unfortunately, that the music, because it is a Sega Genesis game, does loop a bit. But I still think it's got a really good soundtrack overall. And I still think that the combat itself is deep enough, and the artistic look of the character sprites really sort of makes this game stand out anyways. And really, really holds up. Like, I usually come back and play Shining Force 2, like, once every year. Like I'll usually play through, like do a full playthrough. It's one of those games I play yearly. Like Super Metroid is another one of those games, which is my favorite game of all time. I usually beat Super Metroid like once every 3 months or so. I basically have like the entire 100% map mapped out in my brain. It's pretty crazy. So, also one other interesting fact about Shining Force, you may have seen it at the beginning, but this game was developed by Sega Team. Sega Team is actually made up of the developers that are now known as Camelot Games. They were actually bought during the, I believe it was the N64 era. They were bought by Nintendo. So basically, there were no more Shining Force games after that, obviously. Now that they're owned by Nintendo. Because I think the last Shining Force game that they made was Shining Force CD, the Sega CD. And then they went on to make games like Golden Sun, which is also very much in the vein of Shining Force, especially if you look at these games side by side, especially with the character portraits. They look very similar. Even the font is pretty much the same. But the combat system is very, very different in Golden Sun. But those games are really good. And then they also made the Mario Golf games, and then Mario Tennis. So Camelot makes good games. Still, it's a shame they can't work on Shining Force, because, like I said, really, the last true Shining Force game we got was Shining Force CD, and it wasn't even that great. I mean, nothing in comparison to this game, that's for sure. It's one of those game series like Final Fantasy Tactics that I don't know if we'll ever see again. Also, they did make games in the Shining series during the, I think the first one that reappeared was on the PS2 called Shining Tears, and then there was a bunch of different action RPGs. And they weren't really that great. They didn't really evoke the same feelings you got by playing this game, that's for sure. So, just to catch us up on the story, we're basically going to this tower. Just the storm that we saw at the beginning was sort of emanating from this tower, so we're going to head up here and see what's going on. Spoiler alert, lots of troubles going on. Troubles a brewin', one would say. Yeah, I know, I'm lame, shut up. Sir Astralt, by the way, is totally very much trying to be Gandalf with a blue cloak, but that's okay. I still love him anyways. Though, it's kind of weird in his picture because it almost looks like he's wearing a crown and not actually like a wizard's hat, because you don't really see like the jewels and stuff when he turns around. It's kind of weird. What is happening? Oh, it's a gizmo! I love how the demons are named gizmos in this game. I thought that was really funny back in the day. Although it is kind of a weird name for a demon. I mean, especially when we think of Gizmo, the cute and cuddly furry thing that turns into a gremlin. Yeah, they are connected, I swear. Oh, look, he brought a whole bunch of his friends. I like how Sir Astral is just like, you know what? I don't feel like doing anything. I'm leaving it all to you guys. You guys can do this. My students from the school. I also love that they don't even touch him. He just stands there and stares at them. Even though, really, the story reason he's doing that is he's keeping the big purple one at bay. Or pink one, or whatever. The Sega Genesis colors, come on. Let's face it, blast processing. I don't know. I don't know if it's all cracked up to be what it says it is. So generally, this is something that I learned very quickly when playing strategy RPGs. I sort of always just keep my characters just sort of all tightly knit together and just move them just as a giant group like this. So then we can easily just pounce on this guy. Of course, those mini cutscenes for the battles totally blew my mind back in the day. Again, there wasn't really anything like that, or at least anything like that I had ever played anyways. at the time. You did see more of that artwork with later games, but for the most part, that's very, very, very much a Shining Force thing. And again, I had actually played this game before the first Shining Force, so that's why it was so surprising to see it in this game, because those cutscene cutaways are also in the first Shining Force as well. Also, if you're interested in checking any of these games out, I mean, I'm playing them on a Retron 5 because I have the cartridge, but you can also play this game on Steam. It's on the Wii Virtual Console, not the Wii U one, but you can play it in Wii mode. It's just, since they don't have Sega Genesis games, obviously, on Wii U, that's the reason why it's not on there. You can also play it as part of Sonic's Ultimate Game Collection, which came out on 360 and PS3. Again, there was a ton of Sega games in there, and it was actually really cool to have this game in there as well. Even though the achievements in that game sort of left a lot to be desired anyways. So there are a lot of different ways to play this game anyways. Because, again, it's part of like the Steam Sega collection and stuff, so... Alright, so... unlike other strategy role-playing games, again, the rules of death are always sort of all over the place in these games. In this one in particular, if Bowie dies, you have to totally restart the whole fight again. No ifs, ands, or buts. There is no permadeath in this game. If you do lose characters, you have to pay to resurrect them at the church. But for the most part, as long as you don't let Bowie die, it doesn't really matter who kicks the bucket in this game. Of course, you know, if you want to level your guys, you want to keep them alive, obviously, but... and they don't, like, lose levels or anything like that. It's just... The more... The higher level person it is, the more you actually have to pay to resurrect them. Which I always thought was sort of a neat mechanic anyways. Because I don't think every strategy RPG really needs permadeath. It's a cool mechanic when it's there, just like, that's one of the reasons why I love XCOM, but not every game needs it. Oh man, they're totally targeting Sarah. Alright, so we got Bowie, so he's going to come up here, finish this guy off. And then I'm just going to sort of circle around and finish the rest of these guys off. Of course, Sarah, what she's going to want to do is just heal. Again, with mana in this game, there isn't really a way to refill it in battle. For the most part, you're just sort of using it up. You only have a finite amount every battle, but usually when you get, like when you're later in the game, you get more than one healer. So you're usually not running out of mana too often. And then it just refills at the end of every battle, so you don't really have to do anything. Alright, so what we're going to want to do is we're just going to want to focus these guys down. Of course, these gizmos are being kind of annoying. They keep dodging my attacks. Alright, so Bowie is almost dead. Luckily, even though Sarah's out of mana, she actually attacks for more damage than Chester does right now. So actually what we're going to do is we're going to use this healing herb just to make sure that Bowie doesn't die. Again, sometimes the way that enemies take turns can cause some RNG sometimes, which could have just resulted in the enemy taking the next turn, killing Bowie off, and then we would have had to start over, which would have been really annoying. Once again, they're going all out on Bowie. And again, he just He totally missed that. He's basically 50-50 on attacks this game. So I'm going to have him come over here, so then the other party members can target the other gizmo. And then Chester should be able to do 2 damage as long as he hits the frickin' thing. There we go. So 2. And last but not least, Sarah should be close to be able to finish it off, but again, unless this gizmo gets 2 attacks, it's not going to kill Bowie. So Sarah became level 2. Hooray! One thing to note in this game is it is very hard to level healers as the difficulty in the game spikes, so you want to try and level them as early as you can anyways. And in order to do that, really, they do get XP for healing allies, but you're going to want to make sure they get sort of the last hits on the enemy in order to get maximum amount of experience. So there we go, the last gizmo is down. There we go, we've beaten the first set of gizmos, and we're well on our way in this adventure. Oh look, he's getting away! Oh shit, it's going after the king. Let's go! God, playing this game brings back so many memories. I used to play this game so fucking much. He's apparently fainted. He's fainted. By the way, that's actually, in this game, none of the characters actually die on your team. They faint. I don't know why no one pays attention to me. Oh snap, so it sounds like the king has been possessed by the gizmo. I don't know how that demon's gonna pass as the actual king with bold words like that. See, you know, if he could have used a powerful spell like this the whole time, why didn't he just do that back in the tower and then we wouldn't have this mess? Ha! He did. Or is he? Maybe he just fainted. Astral has fainted. Alright, so they're gonna go send the army to scour the countryside for this demon. By the way, why do half those soldiers not have shirts? It's kind of weird, right? I always wondered that. I mean, it's not really protective or anything. Now, mind you, stormtroopers wear armor, but obviously that's not really protective either, but I mean, it's probably more effective than wearing no shirt. Just saying. One of my favorite lines, don't worry about him. If he dies, it doesn't matter. He's old anyways. Oh, Minister. You're so mean. Minister, is the Minister there? Oh, he's too late. It's almost like maybe he's gonna give us something to do now. So Grand's Island is where these guys are now. There are other places in the world, but this is where you start. What should we do now? What should we do now? I love how the Minister just repeats everything the king says. Oh, yes. He knows of us. You know what? We're gonna say no. You know, we don't really want to go on this adventure. It's fine. We don't need to do anything. How dare you refuse the king's wish? Answer again. Alright, fine. I guess we'll go. Alright, we're gonna go fetch Howl. We're not even gonna ask if he wants to come over here. We're just gonna go fetch him. Oh, we're gonna go tell our mom we're leaving. I didn't know I was old enough to work for the king either, Mom. Aww. Soapy water? Yuck, it tastes disgusting! Of course he decides to try and drink the soapy water. You know, that has dirty dishes in it. You know, that well's a deep well. Have you smelt any sulfur? I kind of need some sulfur. Oh man, some of the dialogue in this game is just so great. Like, it's so cheesy, but I love it. I can't help it. Alright, let's go listen to what the fortune teller says. Oh, well, she's probably not wrong. Probably. By the way, just so you know, all of the item keepers in this game, they all look like this dude. So... Bum, 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 bum. Oh, it's Jaha. He is the 4th classmate that we had in the class that just didn't show up. Why? Because he's always late for class. So, Jaha the War, because all the class abbreviations are 4 letters. Jaha the War is joining us. So before we go, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to buy some items real quick. We're going to do this last battle, and that's sort of going to end the Let's Play, but that's okay. So we're going to buy a short spear. Yes. I'm going to do this quickly so we don't have to deal with this. Ah, it suits you. Of course, it says that every time you equip a weapon that your character can use. Oh yeah, I forgot. I have to sell things from him. We can just sell the wood sword, because you really, other than very, very specific weapons, like the weapons that have magical properties, you don't really need to save any of them. No, we don't need any more swords, we're leaving. Alright. So we're going to buy some medical herbs. Alright, we got enough stuff. Let's go. There we go. Boring stuff over. You guys don't have to watch me buy equipment anymore. Alright, so no rhyme or reason. We just walk out of our castle, and you know what? There are huge rats. I was about to say giant rats, but huge rats and oozes. Just, you know, waiting for us. Just being like, hey guys, what's up? Of course, if you press the B button, you can sort of just go and circle around the map. See that there's the tower that we went in earlier. It's connected to a river, and then we don't really know what's out here. So here, now that Chester has a spear, he can actually attack from an extra space away. Of course, we don't want to just rush in like that, because like I said, for the most part, what you want to sort of do in this game is sort of wait for the enemies to come to you. Especially, that'll really come in handy in the later battles, because early in the game, for the most part, you can sort of get away with being sort of a bit risky, but for the most part, you kind of want to just hang back and play more defensive. Of course, that's close enough. And Jaha actually is very good at absorbing damage. He doesn't really take too much, so for the most part, he can just sort of soak all that in. Of course, since we want to sort of level Sarah as quickly as possible, we sort of want to get her in there. Especially because he only really does 3 damage, because as you might have just seen, for the most part, she was the only one who didn't get a weapon upgrade. They're just there, so. One of the cool things in this game, and just like other strategy role-playing games, is that the terrain really does have a huge effect on your character's movement. So things like the forest or mountains or other things like that really do affect how far you can move. So you kind of have to be mindful of that. Of course, does this mean that Bowie's dead? Oh, Bowie's dead. So I guess that means we gotta start over. Alright, let's do this again. I wasn't expecting the huge rat to take off all of his health, and then the ooze to finish his off. So let's try that again. I apologize for that being not as clean as I would expect. Again, we sort of want to get just our guys in a tight formation here. Don't really want to have Bowie in the front. Probably not a good idea. I mean, he usually doesn't take too much damage, but you don't want him to... You basically want him to take it just as little as possible anyways. So this time we'll have Chester attack the ooze. Then we'll have Sarah attack the ooze. And then we'll have Jaha attack the ooze. So everyone gets a swing at the ooze. So hooray! So Bowie's level 2. Again, Bowie is one of those other people in your party you really want to level pretty quickly. Because, as I mentioned, your party's survivability really depends on how prepared he is for battle. Because, again, as soon as you lose Bowie, as you just saw, really the battle just ends and you have to start over again. So you don't want to be afraid to use him. So huge rat attacks. Again, the huge rats are powerhouses. They're doing a ton of damage. And we can sort of just pick off these oozes because they're going to eventually catch up with us, and we don't want them to deal out too much damage. So then Bowie can just come around here. Since I've sort of structured it in such a way that the ooze will have to go all the way around Bowie if he wants to hit him, for the most part, he's not going to die this turn. And we sort of want to just keep the same sort of structure, don't want to move Chester around. And Bowie's going to take a lot of damage. Not 8 this time, thank God. And yes, this game does deal in very low numbers. Even when you're, even in the way higher levels, for the most part, you're dealing with very, very low health pools and other things. Which is part of the fun, because actually, one of the things I sort of dislike about a lot of games is that when you level way too high, the numbers are sort of off the chart, which, while cool to look at, doesn't really make a lot of sense, especially when you're trying to calculate things. Man, this huge rat, he's taking some damage. Alright, Sarah can finish this. There, she got him for 1. So again, Chester can just sort of attack from here, because we're sort of trying to now on Jaha's turn, we're gonna try and bait the other 2 enemies down, and make them sort of come to us. And we'll just use sort of a medical herb on ourselves just to keep ourselves alive. He's like, hiya! I take negative damage because I heal myself. Ah! Take spear to the face, Mr. Rat. Alright, so this is a bit of a risky play, but I think it should turn out okay as long as we don't get critted by the giant rat or something like that. And even there, like, even if he gets attacked by the ooze, he's still not going to die. So Jaha can sort of come in here, clean house. And of course he gets a second attack, which means it's dead. So we only got the huge rat remaining. Now, normally I would want Sarah to heal Bowie, but I can't get in range. So we'll deal 1 giant rat damage to the giant rat. And then this should finish it off. So, giant rat down. Even though it's a huge rat, I'm going to keep calling it a giant rat, because it's a really big rat, man. Alright, so there we go. So the second battle is down. So we're going to sort of stop here. Now that we're at the village of Yeel, I'm going to go save the game, because of course, if we want to do this next week, or any other weeks, we sort of want to pick up from here. We don't want to start over again. So first of all, what do you guys think of Shining Force 2? First of all, have you ever played the Shining Force 2 before? If not, has this really sort of made you want to try it anyways? I think it's definitely a worthwhile game that anyone who's seriously into strategy RPGs should check out, or at least consider, especially if you can get a hold of it. Like I said, there's a lot of easy ways to get a hold of it, especially if you have it on Steam. If you have Steam, I mean, that's probably the easiest way to do it. It's usually pretty cheap as part of the Sega collection as well. What do you think about my Let's Plays? Or maybe do you want to see more Shining Force? Or what type of games are you guys sort of looking for? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys. As always, like I mentioned, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we do new Let's Plays. Every Wednesday is Mega Wednesday, so Mega Man Let's Plays until Mega Man 6 is down, and then I'm going to start doing a new series after that. Also, do you guys like video game podcasts at all? Are you looking to try a new one? Well, I co-host one called the Game Moose Podcast. We actually just did our Game of the Year wrap. That should be going live sometime this weekend. All the links are in the description below. As well, please like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm at Ryan Turford. That's Turford, just like my name on this video. You can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Ryan Turford, where I stream games like Shining Force, games like Final Fantasy XIV, all kinds of different games. So again, until next week, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been Shining Force 2, and I'm out.